Story time about how my crazy sister tried to steal my husband and my child while I was in the army. My sister and I have always been competitive our entire lives. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it's sending me an Instagram. Her and I actually didn't grow up together. We don't have the same mother. We actually met when we were teenagers, which is not a good time to meet your sister because you're already very insecure at that time. She was always a little bit insecure about her looks, and it got a lot worse when she met me. She was always comparing herself to me and asking my dad which one of us he thought was prettier. My dad, of course, would get really upset and tell her not to be like that, but I could tell that she was always judging me. Sometimes she would make fun of the way I dressed, and if I ever wore a tank top or a crop top, she would call me McChubby. Mind you, I am not chubby at all, and even if I was, it's still so wrong to call someone that. Fast forward 10 years later, I married the man of my dreams. We have a really good relationship and a 1-year-old. I joined the army straight out of high school, and I really love it. We finally got pregnant after 3 years of trying. I was told I was going to be stationed away for 2 months. My husband luckily has a job where he can work from home, and my mother lives really close to us, so I knew I was leaving the baby in good hands. My husband luckily supports me in everything I want to do, so he didn't have a problem with this. I would see my sister from time to time, but we never really hung out or anything, and she never really made an effort to meet our baby either. Last I'd heard, she'd been in a really bad relationship. Apparently, she even had to get a restraining order, and she had to move back home to live with my dad. When I finally ended up going overseas, my husband and I would Zoom every single day. This is when things took a dark turn. My husband told me that my sister came by one day to visit, and that she was full on flirting with him, telling him how good looking he is. Part 2 is up. Part 2 of how my sister tried to steal away my husband and my baby when I was stationed away. My husband told me that she came over and started flirting with him. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it's sending me on Instagram. He asked me what he should do, and I told him to just act like normal. A few days later, my husband tells me that my sister comes over with the tray of lasagna, which she knows is his favorite dish. And here's the worst part. She brought a thong bikini and sat by the pool for hours. Apparently, she wanted to get a tan. Then she asked him if they could watch a movie together, but my husband made up an excuse saying that he had to get back on his laptop for work. He even took a video of her while she was lounging in the pool, and we both laughed at it. A few days after that, he tells me she comes over crying. Apparently, some guy wouldn't leave her alone, so she asked him if she could sleep over because she didn't feel safe. She decided to walk around the house in her underwear and an oversized t-shirt. But here's what really got to me. Apparently, she was making an effort to get to know the baby, so she would go out of her way to feed him and play with him. And out of nowhere, the baby calls her mama. She never made an effort to see the baby when I was there, so why was she making an effort now? Then my sister sent me a picture of my husband and the baby asleep on the couch. And she sends me another message saying, "Your husband is so beautiful." Part 3 of how my sister tried to steal away my husband and my baby when I was stationed away. After she sent me the picture of my baby and my husband sleeping on the couch, I asked her what she was doing there. Disclaimer, this is not my story time, it's sending me on Instagram. Then she had the audacity to tell me that she just wanted to help my husband out. I told her that he didn't need any help and that she could leave the house. That's when she asked me if I was insecure about her being around my husband since she's so attractive. As soon as she said that, I tried calling her, but she wouldn't answer. Then she decided to ignore my phone calls and messages for 2 days. So I called my husband and told him what she said. The first thing he did was reassure me and told me that I had nothing to worry about and that he would tell her to leave himself. I didn't want her to start any drama in front of the baby, so I told my husband to just let her stay another night. Instead, I called my dear dad, and I told him everything that she was doing. I even told my dad that he needed to go pick her up right away. My dad didn't even question me, he just went to get her. He knew exactly what she was like. 30 minutes later, I get a phone call from my husband laughing his head off. He tells me my dad came into the house and told her that she needed to leave with him. When she refused, my dad simply grabbed her by the arm and dragged her out of the house. And on the way out, he could hear my dad asking her what she thought she was doing. He even told her to stop walking around in her underwear around my husband. I only wish I could have seen it myself. But it doesn't end there. My sister decided to sneak out of my dad's house and back to mine. And this time she wore lingerie underneath a coat. When he opens the door, she takes off the coat, revealing the lingerie. My husband politely asked her to leave, but she said she knew he wanted her. Then he just shut the door in her face. I got home a few weeks after that, and I confronted my sister. She told me that I'm a bad wife for leaving my husband and my child, and that eventually he's gonna end up cheating on me. She denies having come to the house with the lingerie on. How should I handle the situation? Should I tell my dad or just let it go?
Story time about how I tried to stick up for this kid on the bus, but it got me suspended. So a little background information, I was 12 and in 7th grade. So it was a Wednesday, and when school ended, I got on the afternoon bus. And there was this boy named Josh that I was friends with. So I went and I sat next to him on the bus. After like 5 minutes of us waiting for the bus driver to get back on the bus, this boy named Kai that everybody loves for some reason comes over and rips me out of the seat. After that, he sits down next to Josh and starts punching him and screaming at him. So I grab this kid by his book bag, rip him out of the seat, and I sit next to Josh. I put my headphones in, plug in my phone, and this kid grabs the phone, throws it at the front of the bus. And there weren't any adults on the bus at this time because our bus driver was using the bathroom. And I didn't go up and get my phone because I knew that if I moved, this kid was probably going to hurt Josh again. So then this kid starts trying to punch me. So I punch him in the stomach. An adult comes on the bus, finally, like for part 2. Part 2 about how I got suspended for trying to stick up for some kid on the bus. So like I said, this kid is starting to try to punch me, so I punch him in the stomach. Finally, an adult gets on the bus. She yells at us to all sit down. And by the way, all the little fucking 12-year-olds had their phones out recording what was happening. So they look at the cameras, they were interviewing some of the kids, and Josh's sister comes up to me, and I was like, oh shit. Hopefully she's not gonna yell at me. I don't know why she would, but still. She was like, hey, I just wanted to say thank you for sticking up for my brother. So then after a little bit, I hear my name get called on the speaker. Kai, Josh, and I were all called down to the office. All of our parents were there. Kai got a 3-day suspension, and I got a 3-week suspension. Even though I literally had scratches all over my freaking arms, and Kai didn't even have a bruise on him. Well, my mom, being the boss-ass bitch that she is, she told the school that if they went through with my suspension, she would call the news and tell them that my school was letting kids get away with bullying.
I, 31 female, have an infant daughter. My sister-in-law has an infant son. Yes, this was planned. My sister is currently 3 months pregnant. These are all our first children. Sister-in-law and I are very close, known each other since primary type close. Several years ago, she was diagnosed with breast cancer and chose to have a double mastectomy. She had arranged to get colostrum from the hospital store for her son and then formula feed, but our hospital had very little in stock due to the global situation. I had started to pump early and had planned on donating my excess to the hospital. When she told me about her situation, I offered her some of my oversupply. This worked great. I still have some left over to give the hospital. And then she shifted to formula when her son was 4 days old. When my daughter was born, I developed a very forceful letdown and oversupply that made her gassy and spilly. So my midwife recommended I pump before feedings. This turned into a freezer full of stored milk, and I offered some to my sister-in-law, as she was having issues with having tried 9 formulas and 2 he was allergic to, and the others made him spilly and gassy. This has worked well for us over the last 10 weeks. Both babies are doing amazing and no more upset tummies. However, my sister has now asked me to do this for her when her baby is born because she doesn't want to breastfeed, as she doesn't want to get saggy breasts or stretch marks. I declined because by the time her baby is born, I will be back at work and my daughter will be moving into solids. And my job isn't pumping friendly for a variety of reasons. She has now gone nuts and put my sister-in-law and me on blast on various social media platforms for deliberately excluding her and wanting to see her baby suffer. No amount of explanation calms her down, and I'm starting to wonder if I should just do it as her big sister. Am I the idiot here? Wait, so your sister is upset that you are supporting a cancer survivor's feeding journey because you won't do the same for her? And her reasoning is pure vanity? So using her logic, you should continue to make your boobs saggy and risk stretch marks so she doesn't have to. Oh, and she wants you to do this towards the end of your breastfeeding journey with your own child. This is laughable. You are not an idiot, but your sister is. Exactly. OP, your sister doesn't need your help for any medical reason. She's simply concerned about the cosmetic aspects. You helped your sister-in-law with a medical issue, and you will also be done by the time your sister would need it. And you are not a delivery service. It may be hard, but ignore your sister and let her anger flame out of its own accord for the time being. Not the idiot. I mean, wow. You providing milk for your sister-in-law was just a happy coincidence, not a plan's favor. Not to mention she doesn't want to breastfeed, and sister-in-law is physically incapable of breastfeeding. It's unreasonable of her to expect you to continue pumping after your baby no longer needs milk purely for her convenience? You're definitely not the idiot. I think it might have been a plan's favor. OP says that they planned to have them a few weeks apart, so it's possible the topic came up. But the sister is still an idiot to think her sister is a community milk bank because she doesn't want saggy boobs. Can we agree that OP is a saint for doing this? Breastfeeding and pumping is very intimate, and it can be stressful and painful. Helping another mother and baby by giving your own milk is beyond generous. Not the idiot. Wow, your sister is an entitled jerk. You're offering something that you already have, milk oversupply, to a cancer survivor, and your sister wants you to keep lactating like some sort of pet sheep so that her boobs can stay pretty? Nope, no, not at all the same. If she's not listening to sense, then you have 2 options. 1, no. 2, accidentally stop lactating as you wean the 2 babies you're currently feeding. Oh, sorry sis, I dried up. Well, that can happen as the baby weans. Oopsie. I've 26 female, been dating Henry, 33, for about 2 years now. He has 2 younger kids from his previous marriage, Kevin and Ella. He and his ex-wife Jess have 75-25 custody. So ever since Henry moved in with me a few months ago, the kids stay with us 25% of the time. Jess is a laid-back parent who lets her kids do whatever they want. Henry doesn't like confrontation, so he defers to Jess most of the time. There are many instances where I disagree with her parenting style, but I'm not their mother and I know my place. The issue: Henry isn't the best cook, so in our home, I do all the cooking, he cleans up. Whenever he has the kids, I make their meal. The way I was raised, you eat your meals at the table. I feel like it's the respectful thing to do when someone has prepared food for you. So I was a bit shocked when the first night I cooked for the kids, they took their plates without a word and went to watch TV on the sofa. I called them back and asked them to please sit at the table. They listened, and the rest of the time, we had no problems. Then the next time they came back from Jess's place, we had the same issue. When I told them to please sit down, they began to complain. Mom lets us have our iPads at dinner. Mom lets us eat in our rooms. I understand their confusion. Of course, being kids, it must be challenging to adjust to having 2 different homes. Of course, it must be confusing to have different dinner rules. I explained that while they may be able to eat where they want at their mother's, at our house, I wanted to eat with them and see their beautiful faces enjoy the meal. After they went home, I got an angry phone call from Jess. She said that I was just Henry's girlfriend and had no right to tell her kids what to do. I told her that yes, I was just the girlfriend, and yes, I shouldn't overstep. But while they're in my home eating my food, I feel that I can have a say in how they eat it. Besides, it isn't as if I told her kids that my way was the right way or criticized her parenting to their faces. I told her it was unrealistic that I'd have 0 role in childcare when they live with me and Henry 25% of the time. I cook their food, do their laundry, and drive them to places, so I'm more than a stranger while I'm not their mother. She blew up at me and called me a witch and has been harassing Henry nonstop about this. He pulled me aside yesterday, asking me to please just give in to keep the peace. The kids hate my rule, Jess hates my rule, and he's afraid that they won't want to live with him anymore. I told him he can cook for them himself, but as long as they're eating my food, I want to stand my ground. He told me he expected better from me and is upset. All 4 people in this conflict seem to think I'm an idiot right now, and I'm really lost. This is my first time dating someone with kids. I realize I may be out of my depth, so I'd appreciate some unbiased insight. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You already gave him a compromise. Instead of jumping at it and taking the deal, he talked down to you. Why? Because he can't be half-assed to cook for his children? Because it's easier to try to manipulate or guilt-trip you than for him to step up as the parent and take over responsibility for them? Because it's not about respecting your efforts, but about making things easier for him. If your boyfriend always capitulates to the mother, I would get out of this relationship now. Otherwise, expect this kind of behavior to continue throughout your relationship, or even to get worse. Right now, the kids are little. What they're doing is a nuisance, but learning to use this kind of dynamic, where they can call mom and instigate a parental confrontation with threats of family court, will lead them to becoming complete terrors in a few years. At some point, you'll have to decide on the boundaries for what you'll allow in your home. Your boyfriend is a coward, and you deserve better. Things will not get better for you. You will deal with this boundary-stomping woman if you continue this relationship. It is quite frankly none of her business what goes on in your home unless it involves mistreatment or neglect. He can't seem to set healthy boundaries with his ex or children. He wants you to compromise in your home, and emotionally manipulating the situation is just unacceptable. Not the idiot. You are allowed to have rules for your own home, such as everyone eats at the table. Henry moved in with you. If he doesn't want those rules for himself and the kids, he can move right out again. I'm sorry to say it, but it sounds like he doesn't respect you at all. He treats you like a free babysitter. Why would you take such crap, OP? Do you really need that in your life? My husband and I had our kids young. I was 18 when my daughter was born, 21 when I had my son. My daughter ended up getting pregnant at a young age too. Even after she moved out and got married, my husband and I were heavily involved in caring for the child. At first because she was young and juggling school alongside being a single mom. Then she finished college, got a great job, and her husband has a high-paying job as well. They both worked crazy hours, and during the time my husband and I should have had us time, we were basically raising a 3rd child. We took him to school, babysat him in the afternoons. He'd spend at least 1 month with us during the summer. As a result, we are very close. We don't resent what we did and enjoy doing it. However, now our grandson is 18 and going off to college across the country. My husband has retired, and we want to move down south for better weather and relaxation. It's been the plan for years. We're working on selling the house and plan to be down there by Christmas. The issue is our daughter had a baby, our second grandson, 2 years ago and is now pregnant again. She quit her job to become a stay-at-home mom with the little one, so we haven't had to do as much with him. We love and spoil him, but it's going to be a different relationship. My daughter says we shouldn't move because she may need our help. I said, while her father's retiring from work, I'm retiring from childcare. I want to be the grandmother that sees her grandbabies and spoils them, but is not basically raising them. She got offended and said that this is just what grandmothers do. I said, not all. My son doesn't mind that we're moving. He lives in a different state and has no plans of having children. We'll even be closer to him with the move. Not significantly, but right now we're 12 hours away. With our new home, we'd be about 4. My daughter and her husband are mad at us, especially as I said I was retiring. They say I make it sound like caring for my grandson was a chore. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You can do what you want with your free time. Holy moly, if my math is correct, you became a grandma at 34? I'm having my first baby at that age. Some families just work that way. I'm the first female in over 4 generations to not have a kid before 18. I literally figure out my grandmother's age by adding my brother's age, plus 17, plus 17. My son's great-grandmother is still alive, and well, because even though I had my son at 20, she was only 54. It's very possible that she could still be alive after he has kids, if he decides to do it. OP, you are not the idiot. Your daughter shouldn't be having kids that she wants someone else to raise. Did your parents raise your daughter for you? I'm trying to understand her thought, that grandparents essentially raise their grandchildren. You've been very supportive, and she and her husband sound like they've done well. Go ahead and move. Don't look back with any level of regret. Enjoy your retirement. Your daughter needs to figure out her own life and choices. Not the idiot. Either she learns how to make it work and be a real adult with children, or you stay a parent. It's time to move on and enjoy yourself. Truthfully, it's not offensive. It's not hurtful. She's upset she lost her get away from the kids free card. Seriously, move where the weather is nicer, where you and your husband can truly enjoy each other. Do not feel bad. You don't have to regret or resent a situation to admit that you don't want to do it again, and you shouldn't have to. Grandparents are not traditionally the parents of their grandkids, so don't accept that from her. Our friends group consists of 7 people, 3 girls and 4 boys, 19 to 20 age. We're all close and hang out together almost every day in our town. We love to joke around and do crazy fun stuff. One of the girls' birthdays, let's refer to her as Laura, comes next month. We pull pranks on each other often, so we decided to do one on Laura's birthday. My friends came up with the plan of pulling a stupid prank on Laura. The plan, in a nutshell, is that 2 of the boys wearing full masks follow Laura in the night after calling her to one of our houses. We all live close, so we'll walk to each other's house. Since it's the night, our area will be very quiet, and not many will be on the streets. After following her for a few minutes, they plan to abduct her, like grabbing her forcefully, and others will be driving the black minivan that one of them got from their uncle and force her to get into it. After a few seconds of her struggling, they open the door for the surprise and have a birthday cake inside, revealing it's them, and it's a prank. I was honestly surprised and said it was a dangerous idea, and it may be traumatic for her. But nobody had a problem with it since they think it's only for a few seconds. They justify saying it would be fun and won't be a big deal to Laura, as she's kind of brave. I agree Laura's brave, but I'm not sure how she would react. I've been stalked before. It's the worst kind of fear, uneasiness, and anxiety pumping through your blood. So I know it's not something to joke around. They didn't mind what I said and finalized the idea. I told them to count me out, and they told me not to tell Laura. But I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I don't know what to do or how Laura would react. I became concerned, so I eventually ended up telling Laura. She just laughed it off, saying it's a crazy idea. Our friends soon got to know that I spilled the tea and are upset with me. They said that I ruined the birthday fun, and seeing Laura taking it as a joke, they told me that I was overly sensitive for nothing. They told me even if it was bound to happen, Laura would have probably laughed it off at the end, and it was dramatic of me to warn her. I'm confused right now. Again, we're not sure how she would react. They assume she won't be upset, but I'm not sure about that. So, am I the idiot for warning her beforehand? Not the idiot. She laughed it off easily because it hadn't happened, but most people would get PTSD from that. Besides that, she would probably fight for her life, and anyone involved could get seriously hurt. Eyes scratched out, nose broken, etc. This kind of thing isn't funny with people, especially women. I'd find new friends before they decide to pull something similar on you. I think I recently read it for a bachelorette party, but the bride-to-be, unbeknownst to her friends, knew some martial arts. She accidentally ended up killing the guy they hired to take her for her bachelorette. But yeah, if anyone tried to sneak up and grab me at any time, I'd fight tooth and nail. So I agree, not the idiot at all. It's easy to laugh at the idea and be okay with the theory of it, but experiencing it firsthand is completely different. Not the idiot. You are being a good friend. There are so many ways that a prank can go wrong in the moment or leave mental scars down the road. Did Laura let your friends know she knew? If she was the one to spill the beans that she knew, it was an effective way for her to shut it down without being confrontational. If she genuinely was okay with this crap, she would have let them carry on. Right. There are so many ways it could go wrong. Yes, Laura let our friends know that she knew about it. I agree that she would have let them carry on if she was okay with that, but she didn't, which means she wasn't okay with that. Not the idiot. That's totally unacceptable. Telling your friend was the right thing to do. This is many people's nightmare. Also, imagine if a neighbor saw and heard and called the police. This is just such a horrible concept as a fun prank. I'm glad you are the sort of friend who speaks up, rather than letting two of your male friends overpower and drag away one of your women friends. My mom passed away last year. She had been estranged from her family for years. Two of her siblings would periodically try to reach out, and they would talk, but it never really moved beyond that. My mom expressed several times that she wouldn't want them at her funeral, nor would she attend theirs. In fact, she preferred if no one told them at all. So that's what I did. One of my aunts contacted me recently and asked about my mom. She wanted to know how she was doing, and I told her the truth. She got hysterical and ended up telling the rest of my mom's family, and now they're all upset with me. They think it's cruel and evil of me to have hid it from them and not allow them to pay their respects. For the record, my mom was estranged from them because they treated her very badly. My grandmother abused my mom and openly favored her siblings and turned them against her. They would deny the abuse and call my mom crazy and spread lies about her to everyone. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It says a lot that your mother's sister went a year without checking up on her at all. If she wanted to be in the loop, she would have been in the loop. Your mom didn't want these people involved in her life, so they weren't interested when she died. It takes a lot to write someone off so thoroughly you verbally express to your child that you don't want them at your funeral. The fact that the family can't understand or respect that, even after her death, and they're taking it out on you, shows just how right your mom was. You honored your mom's wishes, and that's all they need to know. You don't owe them anything more. I'm sorry for the loss of your mom, and I'm proud of you for respecting her wishes. It sounds like they would have lashed out for not being allowed at the funeral to pay their respects or whatever. They're looking for someone to blame and potentially carrying on accepting their abuse since their previous target is no longer available. OP, you are not the idiot. This is nearly the exact same situation I was in last year. If they didn't actually care about her while she was alive, why should you go out of your way to talk to them because she died? Toxic family members are always going to be toxic, so don't take anything they say too seriously.